Hey guys, it's Megan Romine, Mermaid Realtor. Today we're making the commute over to Frank McKinney's treehouse where he's written all of his best-selling books. Come on, let's check it out. Wow, the treehouse, what an experience. Do you work from here?
You're here, you're home. This is my home. This is my oceanfront treehouse office where I wrote all my books from. I designed all my oceanfront artistry here. We're going to talk about real estate and how you are already, but how you can be an even more top producing real estate professional.
And that's what I love, is that you are always working to do better and help others in life. I love that.
You can always better your previous best, so let's go in and
Let's take a
talk about
look.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Hi Frank, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Megan, as the mermaid, did you come right out of the water?
I tried
You
to.
did. Off the beach, up the treehouse. Glad to have you guys.
Yeah, so this is Frank McKinney. And Frank, can you tell us a little more about your story and what brought you here?
So we're up in my treehouse. We're 25 feet above the ocean, right over there. This is where all the magic happens, Megan. This is where I've written all 7 of my books in 6 genres. This is where I've designed all the houses I built on the ocean. We built 40 houses on the direct ocean front on speculation with an average selling price of $14.5 million. So I'm kind of retired from that. After my 44th property, we kind of retired and focused now on writing and releasing my 7th book called Aspire, How to Create Your Own Reality and Alter Your DNA. The reality that I left. So there's a line from the movie Rocket Man. I'm not a big movie guy, but this line from Rocket Man, which is the story of Elton John, going from Reginald Dwight to Elton Hercules John. Kill the person you were born to become the person you want to be. I killed the person I was born to be in Indiana at 18 years old. I got on a plane with a one-way plane ticket and a $50 bill and a duffel bag as big as, Israel's backpack, and came to Florida. I didn't want to be a banker. My father was a banker. My grandfather was a banker. I landed with no education, went to 4 high schools in 4 years, spent 7 different stints in juvenile detention, all before I turned 18. With a GPA of 1.8, I couldn't go to college. But I landed in a place where lifestyles of rich and famous was happening on a daily basis. Now, you might be too young to remember that program, but if you ever watched Cribs, like MTV Cribs, or those, it's a modern version of Lifestyle of Rich and Famous. Being a corn-fed country boy from Indiana, growing up on a farm, seeing the lifestyle in Palm Beach, I wanted a piece of that. Young, impressionable. I'm 18, 19, 20. I went from a maintenance worker on a golf course, digging sand traps by hand with a bunch of Haitians, hence my connection to Haiti now. I earned the nickname the White Haitian because of my work ethic. I became a tennis pro. I was teaching tennis for 3 or 4 years. It was on that tennis court that I earned my PhD in entrepreneurship and my master's in real estate, because the people I was teaching tennis to had made their fortune in very affluent communities. Sea Ranch Club, Boca Marina Yacht Club, the Sanctuary, all these very expensive places. That I ran the tennis programs in there. So I got to see that lifestyle of the rich and famous, and they made their money in real estate. I learned that. That's where I earned that PhD, on that tennis court. By asking the person I'm teaching tennis to, how do you live this lifestyle? The cars, the houses, the women, the wives, I should say, the husbands, the kids. Everything I thought represented the American dream these people had, and I wanted it. And they got it through real estate. So right about the time you were born, I did my first project, a $50,000 crack house that I bought in a real bad part of town, flipped it, and made $7,000. Before flip was even a word. Flip was something that happened in the Olympics, like a gymnastics thing. Nobody was flipping property back then. And I got bit by the bug. I loved it. I became a real estate artist on that very first transaction. I put $25 yard carpet in instead of 10. I put 3 coats of paint on instead of 1. I put a new roof on instead of patching the old one, grass sod instead of grass seed. I made my little crack houses the nicest ones on the block, and they sold for 105% of retail. So I knew I had a knack for it. Fast forward many years later, I moved my real estate artistry to the oceanfront. And that's where we've done all of my work for the last 27 years on the direct oceanfront by building spec homes. So for those of you who don't know, a spec house is a house built without a buyer. So we design it, we buy the land, design it, build it, and with the help of realtors, sell them.
Really incredible. So I was drawn to your story. I read one of your books, How to Make It Big, and it was very intriguing to me that not only are you doing the philanthropy work, all of that, being a stuntman, all kind of tied into one, it's incredible and it's inspiring for people. What's your why for what you do day in and day out?
I want to bring back what a modern day Renaissance man is. They're really hard to come by, which is somebody who's pretty good at a number of things and they put all their passion and purpose into those things. So if you kind of look up the definition of Renaissance man, they were very popular in the Renaissance era, but they kind of were a dying breed because everybody specializes in one thing. And so for me, I think the word passion is overused. Passion is kind of like a sunburn, like it wanes. It'll go away. Purpose, your why, basically. I advocate finding that. Don't follow your passion. That's bad advice. I can be passionate about chocolate. That's not a good thing to follow. Finding your purpose, and my purpose is, as this Renaissance person, to take artistry to real estate. I'm not a developer, a builder, a wholesaler, a flipper. I'm a real estate artist that builds three-dimensional art that people can live in on a canvas known as the Atlantic Ocean. And then taking that professional highest calling. Everybody watching this has a professional highest calling. Yours is as a realtor. God gave you a gift to be a real estate professional and do your job a little bit better than most. Not better than everybody, but a little bit better than most. That's your professional highest calling. What's your spiritual highest calling? Bringing those two things together is also part of my purpose, part of my why. Yes, I'm a real estate artist, but I get to play Robin Hood. I get to be a modern day Robin Hood. Sell to the rich. I don't steal from them, but there's some people that think at $2,000 a square foot, we do steal from them. But actually, last house we sold for $3,000 a square foot. Sell to the rich, take some of the proceeds, along with donors, and we've built 29 self-sustaining villages in Haiti in the last 19 years. So that's my spiritual highest calling. That's another part of my purpose and my why. Actually, we could just stop at that, because if you can go through life understanding your professional highest calling, the gift God gave you to put food on the table and do that job a little bit better than most, and discover your spiritual highest calling and bring those two together. I'm in the housing business. I provide housing to the world's most wealthy who don't even need another house. What about the people in the world, especially in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, that don't have, they're living in mud shacks with tin roofs that have dirt floors and rats run around gnawing on the children's fingers and toes. It's a horrible scene. We provide a self-sustaining existence. We've had for 13,000 children since 2003.
That's incredible.
That's the why.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, it's always good to have that reminder for people that you may be doing successful in work and in business, but it's very important to give back and to have a higher purpose aside from just what you do for work day in and day out.
So you can't have success in one area and not in another. I want you to succeed in the business of life, not in the business of real estate, not in the business of being a techie or in selling Tupperware, whatever it is that you do. If you can't be successful in all areas of your life, you're not successful at all. And as far as giving back insinuates you took something. You didn't take anything. You've earned everything that you've got. It's incumbent upon you to be a responsible steward for the blessings God has given you and share those blessings with others. Come off the feeling of giving back. It insinuates you took something. You earned everything that you've got. You're a young woman. You've stepped up the corporate ladder, not the corporate ladder, the real estate ladder in a very crowded field, and you do very well for yourself. It's incumbent upon you to take those blessings as a responsible steward and share those blessings with people who will not be as successful as you.
I love that. I love that analogy. Not giving back, it's sharing.
It's a stewardship. It's a responsibility, and it's a calling. If you take it like, I don't feel any better, don't do it to feel better. I don't feel any better or worse with our work in Haiti. It's a responsibility. It's something that I was called, it was laid on my heart, I'm a Christian, it was laid on my heart to do what we do in Haiti. So I don't give to feel good. You're actually, if you do that, you're trading. You're not giving, you're trading one thing for another. So this is something that if you can shift from, okay, I'm going to go give $20 to the American Heart Association just to kind of feel good about myself, that's going to be very hollow. That's where once you identify that spiritual highest calling, it isn't going to be about feeling good about you. It's just going to be taking that responsibility and executing on it.
I really like that insight and placing the power back in you as a person, that you have a certain responsibility.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. So there's a passage in the Bible, and I don't want this to freak you out, for those of you who are not in the Bible, into the Bible. If you're into the Bible, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 48, I'm going to paraphrase it, says, "To whom much is entrusted, much is required. To whom much is given, much is expected." That's a great life mantra if you're agnostic, atheist, Jew, Muslim, Wiccan, witch. It's a great way to live your life. To whom much is, you've been given a lot. You've been given a lot. It's incumbent upon you, as that passage says, to whom much is given, much is required. That's it. That passage, I don't know where the book went, is the whole thesis behind my book, The Tap. This is what I'm talking about, being a responsible steward. When God comes down, taps you on the shoulder, calls you to more, this book teaches you how to do that. Say yes to that tap instead of brushing it off your shoulder like, I don't have time for this. That's what happened to me, and that's why we're building those villages over in Haiti.
Wow. And another question that I have with, how do you stay on track with having all of these different aspects of your life and giving back and business and writing books? How do you find what is of most importance to keep moving forward day in and day out?
First thing you want to do is realize that human beings were not meant to stay in balance. We spend too much energy and time trying to be in balance, and it's okay not. The homeostasis, if we were in balance, just picture a grandfather clock with a big pendulum. We're meant to swing from one imbalance to another imbalance. So let's say you get pregnant someday and you're having a baby. Your life is going to be so far out of balance, it's not even funny, but the cause is good. You just decided to start luxury. Mm-hmm. You just decided to start your own company. Your life is going to be out of balance. Don't try to put it back in balance, because you're focused on something that's going to make a meaningful impact on your life and the lives of a lot of people. I quit trying to stay in balance, and that helps me the guilt associated with trying to stay in balance is overwhelming. I gave that up 15 years ago.
Wow, that's really refreshing to hear that, because a lot of things that I hear from other people or their feedback is like, oh, well, balance. You need balance.
But who has it?
A
monk, maybe, right? Or somebody who's in a monastery. That's not us. So you know when you undertake something significant, you go out to find an off-market property, and you're going to get up super early, and you're going to get your sales hat on, and that day you're out of balance. It's okay. It's that struggle to stay in balance that causes the anxiety and the depression and the fear. Give that up. So it allows me to apply what I've written about in the first section, the first chapter of my new book. Understanding that motivation washes off and goes down the drain with the soap at night. Mm-hmm. Inspiration lasts about as long as a bad sunburn. But aspiration will alter your DNA. So quit trying to stay motivated to be on a diet or go to church or be financially responsible, because you can't. I can't. Nobody can. You can't. That's why there's a multi-billion-dollar industry out there for motivational speakers, because we can't be motivated. But once you latch on to aspiration, I've aspired to 5 big things in my life. That's it. To be a real estate artist, I got to do that. To be a best-selling author without even going to college and having a 1.8 GPA out of high school, I got to do that with 7 different books in 6 genres. To run the toughest foot race in the world, according to National Geographic, that Badwater Ultramarathon, 135 miles across the Death Valley Desert. I've done that 7 times. To build a charity in the world's poorest country, or at least the Western Hemisphere poorest country, in Haiti. And a family, because I had a family growing up, but it was kind of a dysfunctional one. I wanted to have a good one. So those are aspirational. Say, what you aspire to do your aspirations are sacred, like a Fabergé egg. And only these are Fabergé boxes. Like, you might not be motivated every day to have luxury real estate succeed, and you might not be inspired, but you'll never lose the aspiration to make that the best real estate company possible. So quit beating yourself up over the fact you can't stay motivated or inspired. Keep the aspiration flame burning, and that's where, you know, when you get to be my age, you may accomplish only a few things. Like, I haven't done, my Renaissance man definition is those 5 things. That's it.
Well, and a good thing too that you've pointed out in one of your books is like the lunch pail approach, and I think about that a lot because motivation wanes. I'm a true believer in that. But if you know where you're going and you see where you want to go, you have an idea, you have to keep working through day in, day out, do your best every day. And some days you're not going to feel like it. Like, let's be honest, you're not going to feel like it. But the lunch pail approach is you get up and you do your job and you keep going and you keep moving forward.
Right. Right. So lunch pail approaches and make it big. So we're doing all these little shameless plugs for the books. This is a few hairstyles ago. This is my first book that came out about 20 years ago. The new spin on the lunch pail approach is relentless forward motion. It's a new chapter in here, and how to apply. I use that metaphor from the race that I run in Death Valley. So you can imagine, or imagine for a second, running 135 miles on blacktop pavements over 200 degrees in the summer in Death Valley, where the daytime temperatures exceed 125 degrees, running 135 miles nonstop. Finishing the race, in my case, usually I'm a little slower, like 40 hours, nonstop, no sleep, through that heat, up these hills. What do I have to apply to get there? The lunch pail approach, yeah. Relentless forward motion. Doesn't matter if I'm running. I could be sprinting, I could be running, I could be jogging, I could be walking, I could be power walking, I could be crawling, I could be puking and getting down the road, but at least I'm applying relentless forward motion. And eventually you'll see the finish line.
Yes, I love that. Well, really excited for your new book. One thing also that I found that's super helpful, that talking about like organizing and making sure you see where you're going, especially being an entrepreneur, you know, sometimes like the days turns into months, the months turns into years. So it's good to have introspective about what you're doing. And also I brought this with me. One of the great things that I took from reading that book that's really helped me is I created a vision book.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and I get to write down every week. I have taken some time and I have my vision statement here. I actually made copies of your weekly organizational chart,
yeah, use them.
and my introspect.
Okay.
And I write down, and this is really helpful because it helps me paint a picture over time and really see kind of where I start and where I'm going, and that I'm really staying on track with what I want to do.
That's so smart, because a lot of people will get excited in the moment about some change they want to make, but there's no accountability.
Yes.
That's just pure accountability. That whole folder could be called my accountability folder because it keeps you on track.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that aspect of the book. Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today.
Well, guys, you're going to come. You're going to be at the book launch for that book, and you know the date, but you can't share it or else I got to kill you.
Yes.
So I hope you'll be there to pick up a copy of my new book, Aspire, How to Create Your Own Reality and Alter Your DNA. Thanks for having me.
Of course.